A spectacular performance. Curry from half court.
Sometimes, something looks like it's been there a while.
All right, we're back. Welcome back to the 3 Points podcast. We are down one man, but we're going to trudge on through regardless. We got our boy Thomas and Wesley, and we're going to talk about first three games of the NBA Finals, among other things going around the league at this point. Currently, the Indiana Pacers are up 2-1, and we are about a day away from Game 4, so that's a pivotal Game 4 in my opinion. But yeah, the Pacers are up 2-1. Hand it off to you, Thomas. What's the story so far? What have you noticed?
A few things. So I guess first, because I am a hater, I'm going to start off with I think something that a lot of other people have been talking about, but it's been on my mind. I mean, Chet Holmgren has looked pretty bad for a guy who's supposed to be like basically the second best player on a team that a lot of people thought were going to run away with this series. He hasn't looked anywhere close to that on offense and on defense. I guess just his lack of size has really been getting exposed. Obviously, I mean, when I say size, I mean girth. He's a skinny dude, and the Pacers are fucking abusing him on both ends. On defense, he's been getting bodied around the rim. On offense, he's also been getting bodied around the rim. He's struggling to finish. He's struggling to protect the rim. He's just, I don't know. He just looks a step slow. He looks overmatched, and I think the difference in production between what was expected of him and what he's actually given is probably one of the biggest differences in this series so far. And then another thing, I guess, again, because I'm a hater, to criticize Shea, also, Game 3 did not look that great. He had a lot of really rough possessions, especially in the pick and roll. He was throwing the ball away. They were really disrupting his pick and roll and making him look super uncomfortable. I think not to do like the Kendrick Perkins, like Shea needs to step up, but he kind of does. Like if he really is the only guy on the team who can authoritatively go. Well, I mean, Jalen Williams actually had a really great game down the stretch, but most of the time he's the only guy who can authoritatively like just go and get buckets possession after possession. So when they take that away, like that offense just looks completely helpless. So he's going to need to figure it out. And then on the Pacers side, I mean, they have just the passing that they have been displaying, the ball movement and the awareness of where everybody is on the court they've been displaying on offense is incredible to watch. There's definitely a little bit of like the 2014 Spurs beautiful game, element, or maybe even the 2011 Mavs, again, another team that just absolutely diced up a super loaded team with ball movement. Like there's an element of that going on where they just seem to be one step ahead. Every pass is just a second ahead of where the Pacers defenders are, or the Thunder defenders are. And it's been pretty beautiful to watch. And I mean, obviously, like you could highlight a lot of different people. I think for me, probably the biggest overachiever so far this series has been Siakam. Honestly, just the same way that it was in the Eastern Conference Finals. I mean, a lot of the ball movement starts with Halliburton, but in terms of the play finishing and execution, it's really been Siakam. He has looked phenomenal, especially around the basket. So
I was gonna kind of point out, or kind of, I guess, prod a question, but like, what do you think it is about Chet that's kind of giving him such a down switch? I mean, my hypothesis and kind of because he did have a pretty solid Western Conference Finals. Him and J Dub, they were both like you said, the number 2 and number 3 that you would expect on such a great team that you can kind of see that in those conference finals. But in these finals, obviously, it's kind of been up and down, especially for Chet. Like he had a pretty solid game 2, but then in games 1 and 3, he looks very kind of shaken up. And I think for one, like you said, you're underrated player of the series so far. I think Siakam, he does like a very good job on him because Chet is such a thin player that even though he's like 7'1", 7'2", you don't need another 7-footer to really bother him that much. You like Siakam's kind of the type of guy that I think kind of works pretty well because he just kind of bothers his base and kind of negates the 3-point shooting aspect of Chet's game. And when Chet has been effective, it kind of seems like it's been when he's going inside and not really shooting the three. And like he's just not shooting the three particularly well at all this series. Like it's pretty disappointing. I think that's kind of where the drop off is from the conference finals to the finals. He's just not shooting it too well from beyond the arc. And then I think like the role players, it's kind of I don't know, it's kind of weird to say, but I feel like Indiana seems to have the better role players so far this series. Like on paper, it can I feel like it can kind of go either way, but it definitely seems like guys like Aaron Nesmith are definitely stepping up. I feel much more confident about Aaron Nesmith shooting from beyond the arc than any of OKC's shooters, and that's kind of what OKC has been known for this whole season is kind of the plethora of like just aggregate shooting they have all over their team, like Kason Wallace, Lou Dort, Caruso. These guys are all pretty solid two-way players, but kind of so far through these first three games, I feel much more solid about the three-point shooting of the role players on the Pacers, which is kind of something that's turning against kind of OKC's, I guess, turning the tide in terms of like in favor of the Pacers. Another thing with Shea is I think he's having a very solid series. Like I think it's more like he can get kind of not passive, but I guess not be forced to be forced to be a passer sometimes, which kind of works to the Pacers' favor because that's not his strong suit. He's like one of the greatest. He's the greatest scorer in the game right now, I would say, maybe other than Jokic. But it's just when you make him a passer, that's kind of when you kind of become reliant on the shooters, and then when the shooters, like I said, are just not really hitting the shots as both Pacers, that's kind of where the series can like swing in the favor of the Pacers. Yeah, what do you think about that? Just
I agree absolutely. Like I mean, we've seen it time and time again, right? Like when it comes down to these 7 game series, the teams that shoot better, they win. And and it is easy to say going in. Well, I mean, Oklahoma City, they have the shooters to make it so that the disparity is not going to be, too heavily in Indiana's favor. But at the end of the day, like you can say you have shooters, your players can put up great numbers in the regular season, et cetera, et cetera. But then you have to go and knock down the shots in the moment, in the finals. And teams like this who suffer, multi-game stretches of poor shooting, which I mean, Oklahoma City, I think if you looked at the quote unquote the aggregate numbers, they're not that bad. But I do know what you're saying, where you are seeing guys who are supposedly reliable shooters miss makeable threes in big moments. Like you do that over the span of 3 games, like that's how you find yourself down 2-1. Like you're absolutely right. And regarding Shea, like it is probably. I mean, if you were, I think I saw some like national analyst who was making this point. Like if you were to pick, it might have been Doris Burke on the broadcast, where she was saying if I was to pick one area where he could improve, even as good as he's been this season, it absolutely would be as a passer. Again, that is clearly like his biggest weakness. As of this point, he is not a grade A playmaker like Luka or LeBron or Jokic or a lot of these other guys who are
I will say though,
quote unquote superstars, true superstars of the league.
one thing I do want to say about Shea's passing is like, well, it's not like it doesn't like his passing is not like Jokic, LeBron, like where he makes like the flashy pass, but his passing like at his best, the reason Shea is not just like a mellow score where it's not really positively affecting the rest of the team. The reason that Shea's scoring does positively affect his team for the most part is kind of like those skip passes, like creating the initial advantage, setting the high pick and roll. It's kind of like I had someone, I think Jason Timfer or one of the Nerd Sesh guys kind of explain this, but the reason that because there's like they set such high screens for Shea, and it's not for the reason of like Steph, where like he's a lethal 3-point shooter, and then it forces the switch so high up. It's just so that he can. The reason they have to pick him up as soon as he crosses over that passes the screen is so he doesn't get a full head of steam, because once he gets full head of steam, it's damn near impossible even for the best defenders, even for I mean the Pacers don't really have any elite defenders, but even for the best the Pacers have, like Aaron Nesmith, Nembhard, they have to prevent him from getting that full head of steam, because once he gets that full head of steam, nobody can stand in front of him, and then henceforth there's just rotation. And he's, like I said, he's not good at making like the flashy pass, but he is pretty intelligent at his best when he's making that corner pass, the skip pass, the hockey pass, to kind of take it full advantage of the players you got. But I think that's kind of what I was getting at when like he's not at his best in certain games, is when he's kind of more reluctant to make the passes and kind of balancing. It's kind of like him and Halliburton are both doing this balancing act of being aggressive while also trying to get their guys involved. Halliburton's kind of on the other end, and Shea's like on the too aggressive end sometimes. It's kind of, I think that is kind of like a mini chess match, is those two guys.
I mean, I think you saw it in this last game. Like when they're disrupting Shea, it's because they're not letting him get that hit of steam. They're forcing him to try to make the short roll. They're basically I mean, it's a strategy that's, I think, especially over the past 5 years, it's really kind of taken over. Like when you have a talented perimeter player, you just double. When he comes off the pick, you just double him and you make everybody else play. And he got tripped up a couple of times. He got turned over because they were doubling him. He tried to make the short roll. They tipped the pass and then they took the other way in transition. And like we saw it with Anthony Edwards, who's a kind of a similar guy with, the combination of athleticism and then ability to finish around the basket where he's at his most dangerous heading downhill. And obviously this season, Anthony Edwards, like, he made a leap as a shooter, which helped take some of that pressure off of him. And, Shea's a good shooter himself, but still, like, it's that same kind of strategy. You just double them and you make them make the tough pass into the short roll every time. And again, it's 7-game series. I'm sure, like, they're going to try some adjustments. They'll probably try. I don't know. I mean, still Dagenham will cook something up. I mean, I will say that we did see like the Timberwolves. They got basically one-shotted by that. Once they started really, doubling heavy on Ant, that completely tanked them last year. I know, like it's a different situation. I mean, obviously the Thunder, they've gone all the way to the finals now, and you wouldn't expect that something that simple. I mean, it's not like this is the first time Shea's been doubled, off the pick and roll. But I do think like in these 7-game series, you see teams commit to it so much more heavily, especially in a situation like the finals where they will just do something over and over and over until it doesn't work. So, like that'll definitely be something to watch. I mean, I'm sure Shea will be able. Like I said, I mean, I already said this in chat. I think this series is going to go 7. But again, I do think, like, and because the other thing is when you double a guy, like, the other players then have to execute in isolation. Chet was not doing that. When Chet was in the short roll, and because the reality is when Chet's going to be brought into the screen a lot because they're going to be screening using a big, so they're going to be wanting to bring him in. That leaves him as the short roll guy. And when he is getting these isolations where he's heading to the basket against people you would think he'd be able to body for easy finishes, he's not making those finishes. He's either getting packed or he's, giving up entirely and passing kick out and resetting the offense, or he's just missing, finishes that you'd think he'd make. So that's another thing that he's going to really have to figure that out because if he's going to be in the short roll, he needs to be able to execute those finishes. Yeah, I mean, just the whole offense looked a little bit off, especially that second half.
Well, it seemed like kind of similar to the like it was kind of an exaggeration to say this, but I guess in game 1, like the Pacers just want to keep it close and then they could win. Like you saw the extreme of that in game 1 where they win at the buzzer, but it seemed like in this game, in this most recent game when they won like semi comfortably, like I think if you say it's close, I think it's disingenuous. I think even though the score kind of like it's single digits, but it felt like the Pacers had way more control. And it seems like in the clutch, the Pacers, like they do have the like shooting variance or not. I think the Pacers do have the advantage in the clutch. Like they just execute way better. The accurate ball handling seems to be better. Like even though you would think like with J Dub and Shea as your 2 lead handlers, like that would be pretty elite. But I actually feel pretty comfortable with the ball in Nemhart in Halliburton's hands, making decisions. TJ McConnell, TJ forgot like on the bench. TJ and what's his name? Benjamin
Mathurin,
Yeah.
Mathurin is a guy. I mean, I always love guys who are, ISO killers, like some degree. I just love that archetype of player. I mean, a Mathurin, like you've seen kind of the variance that play style can have this postseason. He's been played off the court essentially for a lot of these series because he just wasn't shooting that well. And when your game is like, okay, give me the ball, let me cook, like, and you're not shooting well, you can't play. But when he is shooting well, I mean, that's the thing. Like, do the Thunder have a guy like that on their bench? You can be like, okay, like, so clear out the floor. Let's ISO. This guy's the 7th guy on a roster, but let's clear out the floor from an ISO because he's hot right now. And he's going to break down his man and hit a jumper. Like, they don't really have one of those guys. And that can be when you have one of those guys get hot, like that swung that game. That was probably the main. I know you can isolate any individual performance, but like this was the deciding factor. But that was definitely one of the big ones. Was him going off for 27. That's probably not going to repeat, but I mean, we saw it in like the Laker famous Lonnie Walker game. Having one game swing like that can completely shift the balance of an entire series. So, yeah.
I feel like you said, they are like pretty, like this is your 7th man and you feel pretty comfortable with him going on. So I feel like there have been a lot of question marks. I mean, just like in the 24 hours since this game concluded about like how sustainable, like, is this just like a Lonnie Walker type game where it's like, okay, that's not going to happen again. But I feel like it may not happen again, but I feel like Carlisle is the smart veteran coach where he will play Benedict Mathurin and TJ McConnell in spurts and see if there's something there. And if there is, then okay, you found gold again, and you can kind of ride that, but not ride it into the ground. If it's not there, then okay, you can just play your starters a bit more minutes, and you don't get that kind of night out of Benedict Mathurin. But I think that it's smart to kind of play them a decent amount of minutes every single game, so that on occasion there's a night like this where Benedict Mathurin and TJ McConnell kind of single handedly win you this game. Like you said, without that, I don't think they have the push, the oomph to kind of get it done. Because it's not like the Thunder didn't throw a pretty good punch. It's just that the Pacers bench was just so elite. Like in that dynamic duo, if you want to call it dynamic, was like kind of a main reason why they were kind of able to push it and kind of stiff arm the Thunder for much of the game.
I mean, there was one specific play where like Mathurin, he's kind of just dribbling the ball, like surveying the floor, and then his man is just like not quite up, and he's like, hey, you know what? He's behind the 3-point line, he just pulls up and knocks down a three, and it's like Russo's not doing that. You know, Case and Wallace probably isn't doing that. I mean, maybe they could, but they certainly don't have the confidence to. And against just little moments like that swings possessions, which swings sequences, which swings series.
Kind of on that point, it seems like the Thunder, they have like a very simple and straightforward formula to success. Like it's Shea breaks down the defender, skip pass, boom, three from the corner, or Shea breaks down the defender, mid range and ISO, or J-Dub doing something similar, getting to the basket. Whereas the Pacers, you can't really pinpoint like, oh yeah, that's their bread and butter offensively. It's kind of like whoever offense, whoever kind of has it going. And most nights that's Siakam and Hallie, so that's who you go to. But you're pretty confident going to like 7+ guys off your bench, and I don't think the Thunder can really say that. Like as much skill as they do have, like as skilled as their as 3-point shooters they have, I don't think they have much off the dribble bounce or guys that you would feel like really confident in. Not that their offense isn't very connective. Like they won 68 games. That wasn't just off of like their defense, which was elite. They had a pretty solid like kind of, I guess, like understanding of when to make the right pass. But that's passing, and I don't think there's as much kind of on the ball scoring as with the Pacers. And I think the Pacers are kind of using that to their advantage. That there's so much variability with their offense. The Thunder, they are a great defense. Like their personnel is elite, but it's very difficult for them to point to, oh yeah, that guy, we're gonna neutralize that guy tonight, and that will sort of snowball, or not snowball, but limit the effectiveness of the other team. The Pacers can point to Shea, and that's kind of it. Like Ben Shepherd, TJ McConnell, they're picking up Shea full court. That's not for no reason. They're trying to. That's the problem, and they're trying to just targeting that, and that is kind of why they're doing a pretty solid job of limiting the offense of the Thunder.
Yeah, I mean, and then like another thing is like if you're looking at again just guys who can get their own bucket, like just even occasionally, after like Nimhard's another guy. I mean, he's like kind of a fringe third, fourth option for them. He like if you really need him to, you can clear out side of the floor and let him ISO. And step back, step back against Shea, who's by according to a lot of people one of the better perimeter defenders in the league. I'm a little bit like I don't know if I would give him that, but I mean he cooked him, absolutely cooked him, and buried a three in his face. Is Alex Caruso doing that? Is what's his face? Isaiah Joe doing that? Keyshawn Wallace. I mean Isaiah Joe. Whatever one of these guys. I just don't think they're doing that.
These guys are very specialized. I think that's their thing.
That's the thing, and you see this. Like, and I hate to be a broken record because I talk about this all the time, but it's like you see this so many times in playoff series, and I think the bigger the moment, the more true this gets. Like, guys who can get their own bucket, there is no substitute. There's absolutely none whatsoever. When the defense tightens up and the calls tighten up and everything's just slightly less connective and it's not flowing as well, you just need guys who can be like, all right, like this possession, I just got this. I'm going to hit him with 3-dribble combo, pull up, and knock down a shot. And that's, again, I think that's what's going to keep the Pacers floating, even despite all the other things that are going against them. That's going to keep them floating in this entire series. And I think it's going to give them a chance to win. And obviously, I didn't say that coming in, so I guess I can't take too much credit. But after watching it in action, yeah, absolutely. They have a real shot at this.
We picked them in 6, so we picked the Thunder in 6, so we're not too far off. But I feel like one of the things that the Thunder had going in game 2, the one they did win, is they had like the transition game going, and that's where I think you see like those less wholly skilled offensive players become like very skilled offensive players. Like Alex Caruso hitting and ones in transition. Isaiah Joe, that's kind of where he's lethal. He's a lethal shooter regardless, but in transition, that's kind of where he kills you because you have to match up, protect the basket first, and then the lowest priority is the 3 point shot, and that's kind of where he thrives. Uh, but I just feel like the Pacers, their effort on the defensive end cannot be minimized. I think that's key to kind of slowing the game down for the Thunder so that they're in transition less and picking up that ball handler, whether that's J Dub or whether that's Shea, and just making them work in ISO. And as like Shea is barring Jokic, I guess, but for a guard, he's the best by far isolation guard you would want. And but even then, when you limit their offense to just that, it can become kind of inefficient. I don't want to like change my pick for this series. I still like have faith in Shea, kind of bouncing back. And Jada bouncing back. Chet, I'm less sure of, but
Dog shit. I've seen people call him
wait, dog Chet.
dog shit, like dog shit.
Yeah, I hope he can come. Like he just needs to make those threes, and then like
Yeah, I mean, the
Jay's-
3 point shooting is it's kind of a fair point. Like, can you say like, well, that's just him, like he didn't prepare, and it's like, no, that's just variance. But at the same time, I mean, you only get 7 games to fix the variance, so you better start soon, or else you're gonna be remembered as the guy who tanked your team in the finals.
yeah, maybe that first practice after the series is over, that's when he'll have his like the first practice, like after they lose the series.
That's how I am.
Dude, I had like 8 threes.
Dude. Yeah, anybody who's ever actually played actually knows they know that feeling all too well.
But yeah,
The
I
second that
mean,
game's over, you take like that frustration 3 after you just like shot like
Swish.
1 for 10, swish, yeah, guaranteed.
okay. I mean, I said this in the chat. I think Game 4 is the game. Like whoever wins this, it kind of like I said, it reminds me of the 2022 NBA Finals where like that. Even though the Thunder are down 2-1, if they win, it's a huge momentum shit because you win in enemy territory and you go back to Oklahoma. I think they can kind of cruise to a win in 6, even though it kind of looks dire now. But obviously, if the Pacers go win and they go up 3-1, that's a pretty tough deficit. So I think Game 4 seals the series for whoever wins it. Um, I'm still not sure who I want to take, even though like ultimately I think the Thunder will win. So I think they're going to win Game 4. It's so tough. Like this is I hate that people are like complaining about how this finals is like not entertaining or like they care
Well,
about
I feel like at
ratings
this point
at
it's
all.
it's
Haters.
literally just trolls saying that. It's just haters. It's people who don't even like basketball and don't like the NBA.
Or okay, not even that, but like people who complained about like ratings maybe not being as
People are
high.
complaining about like the logo on the court. I'm like, dude, what the fuck? It's
I mean, low-key
watch the
valid.
basketball. I guess it's like, dude, where are you
No,
going?
but yeah.
Like, what are you finding next to be mad about?
No, but like these finals have been so fun. So I mean, maybe other than Game 2, and I don't even care about like like I only like the games where the underdog wins. Like if it's a close game, that's kind of all I really care about. Game 1 was a banger. We literally saw a buzzer beater for the win. Like I don't even remember the last time that ever happened in the finals.
You
Freaking
win, and it was like 1947 or something. Somebody went back and it was like literally from before NBA. It was like the NBL, like when it was like whatever came before. Yeah, kind of insane.
yeah, and the underdog is up. Like I don't know how you can.
Yeah,
This
exactly.
this is awesome, bro. Like
So also, by the way, speaking of game 2, like I think and this is another narrative that I am copying a little bit, but I think I've seen a lot of people say, if the Thunder are going to win games, they're going to need to get out to big leads, like by the third quarter. Because the longer that the games stay close, the more it feels like, oh, this is the Pacers game. Because again, like you just when especially towards the end when people are tired, they don't have their legs. Again, offense breaks down, and then that's when the Pacers and all these guys they have been scoring isolation like starts to really matter. So, like, I kind of agree with what you were saying about Game 4 being like a huge swing point, but I would add to that, I think the Thunder not only do they have to win it, they're going to have to get out to a big lead. Because I don't see them winning games if they don't get out to a big lead. I don't know. Do you feel the same way?
yeah, definitely. I think kind of. I was like saying the earlier. I said the like in the clutch. I feel much more confident in the Pacers. I feel like that's kind of a result of like the offensive burden being distributed on the Pacers, whereas with the Thunder, it's very concentrated on like one or two players, mainly Shea. And then what by the time it gets to crunch time, you kind of know who they're going to. Shea's also tired because he's been battling full court press all game. So yeah. I
J-Dub did
mean,
have a really good fourth quarter this last game. I mean, it didn't matter, but he was getting some big buckets.
yeah. I don't want to just like purely hate on the Thunder, but yeah. I mean, I don't know. It also seems like just mentally, like when it is close, it's like the like if you're a Pacers fan or if you're a Pacer, you're like, we're not even supposed to be here. Like it's not supposed to be this close, yet it is. So like the pressure's all on the Thunder to kind of pull this out somehow. And that's kind of like by the time the Pacers were up 7 with like 5 or 6 minutes left, it was like, okay, yeah, they're it kind of feels like the Thunder are not going to pull some kind of miraculous comeback because the Pacers are in control. They're gonna like they don't really have any kind of pressure on them, so they're good shooters. They're going to make their shots for the most part. They're going to get to their bread and butter. Nobody's too tired on like as nobody's too tired on the Pacers, whereas people are just like Shea's gassed by the end. Yeah, I definitely they do have to. I think it is critical, like you said, to get up big early in Game 4.
It almost reminds me of like March Madness, where sometimes like I don't know if you I don't think you watch as much March Madness, but like when you have those games between like massive underdogs and like big time schools, like when those games get into like the last 3 minutes and they're still close, you're like, oh, it's over. Like this is an upset. That you can see the upset coming because the fact that it's so close towards the end is like it shouldn't even be like this. So there is that element too. Obviously, like the disparity of talent is nowhere close. But there again, it's like the Thunder are supposed to be blowing them out, and when they're not, there's just this element of like, yeah, like I don't even really know how to. I think you put it into words better than I can, but I agree 100% with what you're saying.
What do you think are the biggest factors you think in Game 4 for the Thunder to, or I mean either one because this swings the series.
They
I
need to
think.
create those turnovers and get out in transition. That's when their offense is the best. Because that's when they go on those like 15-2 runs, and all of a sudden you're looking up and it's a 70-point game. And that's how. And then because what often happens is, there's a timeout called, and the Pacers they slowly chip back. But it's like the fact that they built up that 70-point lead gives them the cushion to where even when the Pacers start to chip back, it's not going to be enough. But if it's a 6-point lead, yeah, they're going to walk them down. I'm not nervous at all on the Pacers. When it's a 16-point lead, that's when I'm like, okay, I think the Thunder can hold this. So again, that's what I think it's all gonna be about. Just create those turnovers, get out in transition, go on the big runs early, and make it a game where the Pacers have to really, really strain themselves to come back.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, it's just so tough to. I feel like the Pacers are like too smart of a team to like not try the same formula again of like trying like find whatever it takes to prevent the Thunder from getting into transition because that's when they're at their best. Like that's when everybody's lethal. Like I don't know. This is actually such a tough series to call. Such a tough game to call. Just Game 4 alone. Like
I would still probably have the Thunder in 7. I got to be honest.
yeah. I mean, I feel like I can't. Other than Game 1, it's kind of tough to see the Thunder losing at home. So, but they still have to win this Game 4. Like
I could also see a failed 3-1 comeback. I could see that script. Like Pacers go up 3-1, and then the Thunder, get a 5 and 6, and then no, because then that would be
Game 7's in Oklahoma.
maybe that doesn't work. Maybe I do. Maybe your theory about the Game 4 literally being for the series is kind of right.
Well, I don't want to like plant that in your head, like, but if that's what you think, it just kind of makes sense to me. Like, this is when the tides shift one way or the other. But yeah, I don't know. I mean, I think I'm gonna stick to my ultimate team winning. I'm gonna stay with Oklahoma
Pacers
City.
in 5 would be fucking crazy.
Oh my god, dude! I think there'd be riots in Oklahoma or something. Honestly,
I don't know. I don't really know if they have the energy. It's like it'd be like 7 people, and then they go back to I don't know, farming.
yeah. I think I'm rooting for the Pacers. I want them to win. Like my pick is Oklahoma. I want the Pacers to win. I think for the Pacers to win Game 4, it's going to take an aggressive Halliburton early. I don't necessarily want him to maintain that maybe the entire game, but I definitely want him to kind of set the standard or set the tone that he is a scorer this game. That's kind of when he's at his best, is when he's that scorer and passer. So that's kind of my key for the Pacers to win, is prevent the Thunder from getting into transition. And Hallie needs to kind of be aggressive at the start so that it pays off later, so that when other guys, um, so that he's more kind of a threat to the Oklahoma City defense. Did you see that? I mean, maybe you missed it because I think you said you like missed part of the game, but you like,
Yeah, I only watched the second half.
oh, okay, but maybe this was in the second half. But Hallie, like, he had Kason Wallace on him, and he like faked the pass to somebody, and then he like shot the three over. He made Kason like second guess his contest. That's when I was like, okay, damn, this is low key. They're kind of cooked. Like, that's the best they got, and they just got kind of nonchalantly.
I might remember that. Unfortunately, some of these individual plays, they kind of get lost in the flow of the game. I low-key do feel like I saw that.
But that, like, and it kind of felt like that was good. Like before it switched, it was good. And Tyrese is so kind of, this Pacers team is so unstoppable when Tyrese is kind of firing on all cylinders. Like, he knows kind of, okay, this possession or in this moment I'm going to score. This moment I'm going to take full advantage of the advantage I just created. I really like Hallie. I think Hallie is just kind of broadly in like an NBA kind of pantheon perspective. I think Hallie's like super underrated when he's just like in general, because the box score doesn't really show what makes him so good. He's almost as good as Shea as a player, like not as an individual scorer, but player impact. I think he's pretty far up there, especially in the playoffs. Yet his box score numbers don't usually show that. Siakam usually is kind of leading them in scoring and all that.
One other thing I would mention is like neither of these teams has had a like a major outlier shooting game. I mean in the positive direction, like a game where you just shoot the other team out of the gym, and it's like it's clear that it's kind of a fluke, but also you win the game because of it. I think we're due for at least one of those from some team, because that always seems to, especially now when most of these teams are taking 30 to 40 to 50 threes a game. Like that, one of these games always seems to turn into that type of game. I would probably put my money on the Thunder to have that, just again because, like you said, they have this 8 shooters on their team who are supposedly capable of being like 40% guys. But I mean, it could be the Pacers. But I would also put, that's another way I would put my money on the Thunder, like taking one of these games. So that's just one more element.
That's what
that's part of what I'm saying, is like I can see all these ways that the Thunder just like 2 straight blowouts. I could easily see that for the Thunder. And everybody's like, okay, well, they the Pacers had a little fluke 2 games, and now the real Thunder have shown up, and the series is over. But
yeah,
it's not guaranteed. It's definitely not guaranteed.
Well, that's the thing with the playoffs, is like things like defenses are much more difficult to score on. So that's why maybe I don't doubt the ability of these shooters, but I feel like that can't really happen. Like, there can't really be insane outlier shooting. Like, that's why when Steph does it, it's like nobody else really shoots like that in the playoffs, because he's just like some next level shooting against like some great defense. So I don't know. I mean, ultimately, are you going to change your pick of you said Thunder in 7? No.
Yeah, I have changed to Thunder in 7. The fact that Game 7 is going to be at home for the Thunder, that really does sway me.
Yeah. Okay. I think I'm gonna stick with the Thunder in 6 still. I think they're just gonna rack off 3 straight. They just have to win this game 4. They just have to win this game 4. Even though Game 6 is in Indiana, I think that once they win 2 straight, Oklahoma's gonna win it. I guess, do you want to touch on the Thibodeau news just briefly? I guess, like,
Yeah.
Tom Thibodeau, coach of the New York Knicks for the past 3 seasons. I think he was
former coach of the New York Knicks.
Yeah. Let's see. I think he was coach of the New York Knicks for 3 or 4 seasons, and he was
almost want to say 5. It was a while. He kind of turned.
He coached.
Was it like?
Oh, actually, I'm right. Let's see.
It was like pandemic when he was hired, I think.
Yeah, since 20. So yeah, you're right. Exactly 5.
Yeah.
Knicks fan in the chat. Knicks fan in the Zoom.
No, man, I remember that. It was because they had that kind of miracle year where Randall was basically their best player, and he was. And I mean, I rightly called it. They were complete frauds that year, and they got beat by the Hawks. Some people were had more faith in them, but
yeah, but Randall took the Timberwolves to the conference finals this year.
He did. He low-key did. He was borderline their best player. I have to give him credit for that. But
Yeah.
yeah, I mean, speaking, I mean, on the Tibbs stuff, I mean, look, most Knicks fans didn't seem that broken up about it. I think it was pretty clear they had run their course with him. They had, I mean, I don't want to say disappointing exits for 3 straight years. I mean, obviously this year, like they made it all the way to the conference finals, right? Like that's supposed to be an accomplishment, but I think most Knicks fans felt like they should have at least done better against the Pacers. And I think, I mean, again, a lot of them are delusional, so you can't like read too far into it. But a lot of them were upset that they lost. So, I mean, the big thing is, can you find a guy who's gonna? Because the thing is, okay, whenever the logic is like, well, this guy, he's only gonna be able to take us this far, so we have to get rid of him. Like the important thing is that you then find a guy who can take you farther. Because a lot of times what ends up happening is you fire a coach who you feel like has plateaued, and you end up with a plateau that's just way lower. You know what I mean? Like,
Yeah.
so
Yeah.
obviously the more important part, the firing is whatever. The important part is the hiring of a guy who can actually take you to the next level, and that's. I mean, who am I even to speak? We don't know like how good any of these coaches they're going to hire are going to do. Like, who am I to speculate, right?
Yeah.
I think it's one of those moves you'll only be able to see whether or not it worked out in a year or two's time. That's my personal opinion.
Yeah, I feel like kind of like you said, they ran their course. Like it seemed like they got as far as possible with this current roster construction. I'm kind of curious, like next year with definitely a new coach and then possibly like a new roster construction entirely. Like depending where Cat. There's so many rumors going around. I mean, it's Nick, so there's always going to be rumors, but this roster could potentially look so much more different next year. So that's going to be pretty interesting. But did something just happen? Got like your
Sergio launched strikes on Iran.
oh my god.
Okay, well this isn't geopolitics hour, so we can postpone. We don't have to talk about
Yeah.
that. But that's for people like me who pay attention to this stuff. That's pretty big. Yeah. Anyways,
But yeah,
sorry, I don't want to derail our basketball
no,
guest with
no,
you
it's
know.
all good. It's all good. But yeah, that was the news of the Tom Thibodeau firing. We're gonna try to record maybe after every game, maybe every game or two. But yeah, pivotal game 4 tomorrow in Indiana. We'll catch you guys later. Bye bye.